What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Guild Wars 2 Warrior build video. This time I have a much anticipated build. I am so happy about the fact that I have this build for you guys. I have been working on getting the gear for this build for a long time, and I'm not quite there yet, but I have enough to get the point across. So this is going to be my warrior commander leadership build. So I finally have been able to make it. So let's get into the build, shall we? So first of all, we've got the equipment, alright? And the equipment, of course, is all commander's gear. And the weapons, my weapons are not commander's gear, but ideally you would have commander's gear. My Warhorn is Harrier's gear, which does partially help because of the concentration. The idea is that you need concentration, but you also need the power, precision, and toughness. All right, so you're getting the power and precision from the berserker stats on the mace, but ideally you would want it to be just all commander stats. I've also reset a couple of my trinkets so that I could get them into commander stats. I've actually did that just for this video. I spent like 2 gold resetting these things, and it's not fully there, right? Because I've still got these things, and these are marauder stats, and as is my relic of Balthazar. But anyway, you get the point, okay? So for the runes, we are using runes of the water, and I spent a lot of time just really thinking about which rune set would be best for this build, and I settled on Rune of the Water. And the thing is, the leadership runes, they sound nice, right? You're making a leadership build and everything. Why not go with the leadership runes? Okay, sounds nice. They're really hard to get. And in the end, I decided on Rune of the Water because it still provides you with boon duration, but then it also helps out with being with some leadership traits. The actual leadership runes just provide a bonus to all stats, right? So you want to make sure that you're getting something that's really going to be useful to you. So, and that's what we have right here. So the water runes are going to provide you with the boon duration, and they're going to provide you with a total of 20%, which I think the leadership runes ended up providing you with 30%, so it's giving you a little bit less boon duration, but you do get healing power, okay? Much more than you would get with the plus, 16 to all stats or whatever on the leadership runes. You're getting 175 extra healing power, and that really helps because, where is it here? I'm getting extra because of some other stuff. But like, for example, the Harrier's Warhorn and everything. But you're getting 175 extra healing power. Then you have a 25% chance when struck to remove one of your conditions. Okay, that's kind of a selfish thing. But then, when you use a heal skill, this is number 6 if you look down there. When you use a heal skill, you and nearby allies are healed for a small amount. I don't know how many targets that is, but it is nearby allies, and I believe it is 755, and it scales like 0.5% of your healing power. So if I've got 100 healing power, it's not going to do much. It doesn't really scale very much, unless that was 50%. That could be 50%. If it is 50%, then it's giving you a lot. If I've got 265 healing power right now, it's going to heal for an extra 130, which is going to make it a total of like 885 or something like that. I don't know exactly. I don't want to do math on camera, even though I just did. Anyway, so very helpful. Next, we've got the sigils, and I did get the sigils right. We've got the Superior Sigil of Bounty, which is where you gain a charge of +9 concentration every time you kill a foe, or 5 if you kill an enemy player. This is mainly going to be for like meta events in my mind, meta events or possibly Zergs. It could be really cool in Zergs, because the skills are not actually very different, I don't think, across game types. I don't think they are. So you're getting extra concentration. I might try to run with this in World v World if I can finish off all the gear, but it's really difficult to get commander's gear. I think at 25 stacks, I believe it accounts for like an extra 15% boon duration, which is actually going to bring you up to 65% boon duration. Very cool. And then the other sigil is the sigil of transference, and that's going to increase your outgoing healing effectiveness by 10%. So when you look at skills like To the Limit, which is the healing skill on this build, you're going to actually heal 10% more, and I believe it also applies to water runes as well. So keep that in mind. Definitely a good thing for this build. So for the secondary weapon set, I really don't know what you would want to choose. Really, I just kind of left the axes because I still had them. Perhaps you could use a sword, right? You could use a few other. You could use an axe as just like a main hand thing if you wanted to just unequip this, and then you could just like switch, and now you're using axe and warhorn. It's really up to you. But if you're going to do that, then you need to modify the trait. But what we are doing here is now, this is a core warrior build, by the way. This is not a spellbreaker build, it's not a berserker, just core warrior, and I think that this is a fantastic core warrior build at that. So just take a look at these skills first of all. For the mace skills, of course, I've talked about mace many times on my channel. We got an application of weakness for 5 seconds right there on the auto attack. We've got a block, an application of vulnerability. Also, it lets you gain a little bit of extra adrenaline, which is going to be useful because you're going to need some adrenaline when you use this build. And then, of course, we've got the Warhorn. Now, the Warhorn is going to be so useful, and the reason for that is that you want to be able to cure conditions from your allies. It's a leadership build. It's meant to be maximum support, okay? And I couldn't really find a good main hand weapon that provided the maximum amount of support, but mace works. Mace is a pretty good one because you've got 2 hard CCs and everything with the skull crack and the pommel bash. But it's not going to be focused too heavily on damage. You're just going to mainly want to be focusing on keeping your allies in the fight, okay? And then, so it's charge, basically, and it cures crippled, immobilize, and chilled, and because of the trait, it also removes 2 conditions. And also because of the trait, it's on a 12-second recharge. Excellent trait to take with this build. Something I would consider definitely required. Okay. Next, we've got Call to Arms, which is going to grant you vigor. It also inflicts weakness on nearby foes, and of course it removes 2 more conditions. And because of your boon duration, you're actually able to maintain 100% swiftness uptime and almost 100% vigor uptime on your allies. Very useful there. And of course it's going to remove 2 more conditions, and it's on a 16-second cooldown, whereas if you do not take the trait, then it is on a 20-second cooldown, and the other one is on a 15-second. So, very cool. Next, and of course if you take Axe, which I'll just go over that really quick, you've got the chop, double, and triple chop, and those are going to do quite a bit of damage. Axe is a really good damage weapon. If you're just kind of like missing out on your damage, then you know that's a good weapon to take. Next is Cyclone Axe, which is going to grant you Fury for 3 seconds for each foe hit. So it's a maximum of 5 targets. So if you are able to, now this is with the boon duration. So it possibly, I think it's actually 2 seconds. It's supposed to give you only 2 seconds per foe hit for a maximum of 10 seconds of Fury. But because of the boon duration, you get a maximum of 15 seconds of Fury, so very useful, and that's only on a 6-second cooldown, right? So if you got a lot of enemies, you're going to have a lot of Fury going around, but that's just for yourself, so not super great. But there is also Throw Axe, and Throw Axe has recently been buffed to where it just like does more and more damage. It's like an execution skill where you just like, just pop it right on them at 25% health, and they just like go way down. It also cripples them, so that's something else that is useful. Next, let's talk about the healing skill. To the Limit is an excellent skill because it gives you the adrenaline that you need, and then it also heals you a whole crap ton, and it also gives 50 endurance to your nearby allies. This is going to be really helpful in Fractals, okay? Definitely something useful that you're going to want to take. The other ones don't really fit for a leadership build. I thought about Defiant Stance, but it's just too selfish. It's just, and it's not always a bad thing, but it's just like as a warrior, sometimes you want to be the support guy, and To the Limit is definitely the best support healing skill. So we've got that. Next, I'm taking a banner, and I've chosen Banner of Defense, but really you could take any banner you wanted. If your party needs more damage, take Banner of Strength. If your party needs more critical hits and ferocity or whatever, take Banner of Discipline. And if you want extra boon duration and everything, then definitely take the Banner of Tactics. Don't be afraid to. It's pretty good. You could just maintain a lot of regeneration uptime. And basically, because of the trait, it's regeneration. 4.5 seconds at every tick. I believe it's once every second. So every second you're gaining 4.5 seconds of regeneration. Or maybe it's every 3 seconds. So you're gaining an extra 1.5 seconds of regeneration for 90 seconds. So 90 times 1.5 is, 120 seconds. I don't know if I did the math right on that. I probably did not, but either way, you can maintain 100% regeneration uptime if I remember correctly. So there is that. Next, we've got 4 Great Justice. This is just going to straight up boost the damage of your allies. And take a look at that might duration, 37 seconds of 6 stacks of might. Okay, that is amazing. That is really, really good. It's also because of the trait. It's gonna heal nearby allies, and it's also going to give you adrenaline. So very, very useful. You're gonna need some adrenaline because the mace is very slow. If you actually need the adrenaline, then perhaps you could take Axe Mastery, which we'll talk about that when we get into the traits. And the Fury uptime is 12 seconds, so you're not going to be able to even get close to 100% Fury uptime, but you can maintain pretty good uptime. It's more than 50%. Next, we've got Shake It Off, and I love this skill, honestly. I love Shake It Off. It breaks a stun, okay? I don't know if it breaks your allies' stuns. I haven't been able to find that information. If you know, then please let me know in the comments. But it removes conditions from nearby allies. 2 conditions, right? So you can remove 2 from this, 2 from this, and then 2 from Shake It Off. Excellent, excellent synergy there. And, of course, because it's a shout, it also gives a flat heal to nearby allies and gives you extra adrenaline. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Next is the Battle Standard, and this is another thing that makes this build really good for fractals. And of course I can't take this in tier 4 fractals because this armor is not ascended and I don't have the infusions, right? But it's only exotic, but you get the idea. The Battle Standard is going to allow you to resurrect an ally immediately, right? And then resurrect up to 5 allies. And then it's also going to gain boons, of course, and then it's also going to give you additional regeneration. And I think they're making some regeneration changes with the next balance patch, which we will, of course, talk about on this channel. So leave a like and subscribe if you're enjoying this. But next, we're going to talk about the specializations. So first, I'm running defense, and I felt like this was kind of just a no-brainer here. The strength didn't really fit, and this build needs like some survivability, right? We've got the toughness. Okay, but we also need some extra stuff to kind of keep us in the fight, because if we're the support guy and we go down, then we can't support anybody anymore, right? And so that's something that really you need to keep in mind. So first of all, we've taken Dogged March, which gives you regeneration, and remember, you're gaining the boon duration. Okay, so that's almost 100% regeneration uptime if you are affected by a movement impairing condition, okay, because it's a 10-second cooldown. It's really, really useful to take this, honestly, because it benefits a lot from the boon duration. Next, we've got Adrenal Health, and I just mentioned this even though it's a minor thing, a minor trait thing, because it's so useful. Like, why would you not want to mention this? It's Adrenal Health. It's just so good. So definitely you want to take that. Sundering Mace is what I've taken because I'm taking Mace. If you really want to choose Axe as your main weapon, then probably you would want to go with Armored Attack, which is power based on your toughness, because you've got lots of toughness because you actually have toughness gear, right? You're gaining that extra bit. So you can gain extra power based on your toughness. Or perhaps you want the Automatic Endure Pain, which either one really is okay. This is going to increase your defense and this is going to increase your attack. But if you're taking Mace, then definitely you probably want to take Sundering Mace. So, I mean, it's going to decrease the recharge, right? You need lower recharges on those things. Next, we've got Cleansing Iron. This is going to make you gain adrenaline when you are hit, and also it's going to allow you to remove a condition every time you use a burst skill, at least one, right? And you're a core warrior, you're not like a spellbreaker, because a spellbreaker, it's like you only use one adrenaline bar at one time. But since you're a core warrior, you can actually remove up to 3 conditions at one time. So very useful on that. You can remove 3 conditions at one time, then use to the limit and gain the regeneration, or sorry, gain the adrenaline back, so that you can use the skull crack again when it's off of cooldown. So, or you could just use it, when you're just first going into battle, if you got some conditions that just are flung onto you right at the very beginning. So, very useful. You could go for the automatic balance stance, but honestly, I don't think it's very useful since you're not using any stances in your thing, and this is supposed to be a selfless build, so you really wouldn't want to change to any stances. So, there is that. And of course, the rousing resilience makes 0 sense because you have no stun breaks. So, oh no, you do have shake it off, but it's not. Shake it off is a stun break, but it's not. It's only 1, right? And it's 1,000 extra toughness, but this one is probably the best one. Cleansing ire. Next, we've got discipline, and what I've got is vengeful return, and it just makes it so you can basically when you enter vengeance, if you kill someone, then there's a guarantee that you will rally. Okay, and I've chosen that because crack shot doesn't work because we're not using rifle, and warrior sprint, you could use that, except that none of these skills are movement-based skills, so none of them are going to remove immobilization. The only thing it would do is increase your movement speed. So vengeful return really makes the most sense. And plus, it helps you get up easier if you are to go down. If your defenses are failing, then yes, it helps you get up easier, and that's what you need. Next trait I've got is Inspiring Battle Standard, and it's going to basically make these banners a lot better, right? It's going to make them a ton better. I'm going to change to actually the banner of tactics for a second. And because if you don't have this, then... And the interval is 3 seconds, by the way. If you don't have this, then your banners are going to be so much less effective, right? You just need that. You need the regeneration. And the extra damage isn't really useful because you're not going to be trying to deal as much damage as possible, so you don't really need it. And the Brawler's Recovery doesn't make too much sense because you're not going to be really swapping weapons too often, because ideally you would only want to take either Sundering Mace or Axe Mastery. You wouldn't want to take both. So, that's just something to think about. And then the last discipline trait that I have is Burst Mastery, which is really going to help with Adrenaline if you've got Mace. If you've got Mace, you definitely want to take Burst Mastery because it is something that's really going to help. Mace is a very slow weapon, and Warhorn's not doing you any favors with Adrenaline, okay? You got some Adrenaline from your shouts, but it's only, a total of 15 Adrenaline, which is going to fill you up halfway. And then you got something that's a block, right? Then you got a 9.5 second cooldown skill and your auto attack. So you got very, very slow Adrenaline, so you need that extra little bit of Adrenaline to be restored when you use a burst skill. And because we're a core warrior, if we use all 3 bars of Adrenaline, then we're actually going to gain a full extra bar when we use it. So very useful to take there. If you're taking an axe, then definitely you could say like Armored Attack and then Axe Mastery. Axes will work here. You are still getting some crit chance. You got a 50% crit chance, or if you do Fury with the axes, then you got a 70% crit chance. excellent crit rate on this, so it's still going to actually give you tons of adrenaline, so don't worry about that. And this skill is only on a 4 3/4 second cooldown, right? That is insanely low, and it's just going to be fine, right? It's going to be fine if you use an axe. But what I've got right there is Burst Mastery for this part, so, just keep that in mind. And lastly, we have, of course, we are a support warrior. How could we think of taking anything other than tactics? And so, for tactics, you got reduced damage when you're reviving. Excellent job, because, I say that so much, excellent job. But it's an excellent trait to have because if you're a support warrior, you're going to want to be reviving people, right? So you want to reduce your damage while you're reviving. And the toughness also helps with that. Next, of course, we got quick breathing. This is definitely required. Like, I can't even think of any other good trait for this. Like, if we get empowered, right, you're not getting boons on yourself. That's not the goal of this. You're not trying to do as much damage as possible. And leg specialist, you're not crippling them unless you have an axe, in which case, why would you want to immobilize them? It just doesn't make any sense. But so quick breathing is perfect, right? It just reduces the recharge of your Warhorn skills, and it removes 2 conditions whenever you use a Warhorn skill. Next, we've got Reviver's Might. So heal and grant might to nearby allies when you rally or successfully revive somebody. So you're going to be reducing your damage when you're reviving, and then also you're going to be granting might. And those 3 stacks of might, they scale with your boon duration, and the healing stacks with your healing power. So excellent, just a little bit of a boost to damage and health. It's going to work out really well. Next, we've got Empower Allies, and I love Empower Allies. It's just a straight up 150 points of extra power for all of your nearby allies. It's probably like in your party or your squad or something like that, but it just works so well. It's just a really good trait. Potentially you could do Shrug It Off, and it's an extra shout, right? So it's going to heal, it's going to gain extra adrenaline, and it's going to remove a condition. You know, the second you get a condition on you, it's going to automatically use it, and it's only on a 20-second recharge, right? So every 20 seconds, it's like a free condition remover. So you could take that. I'm taking Empower Allies because you are also affected by that, I believe. I don't know, but we're going to see in a second when I test it out. And then we've got gain healing power for each stack of might. So this is going to help with the 4 Great Justice. We're going to gain a total of like 6 stacks of might. And so, no, it's going to be a total of 12 stacks of might at one time. And that's going to be an extra 120 healing power, which is going to help with the other shouts, right? So the second time you use 4 Great Justice, it's going to be more effective than before, which is awesome. So just keep that in mind. Definitely a good thing to have. And also, if you're in a group, if you're in like a raid group, or if you're in a fractal group, or in World v World Zerg or something, you're going to probably have 25 stacks of might at all times. So you're going to have 250 extra healing power just right off the bat. And lastly, we have Vigorous Shouts. I would consider this to be pretty much required because... also, did they buff Failing Strength again? I feel like they buffed Failing Strength. I thought that used to be 6 seconds, and then they nerfed it down to 4 seconds. Is that 6 seconds again? I don't know. Anyway, Vigorous Shouts. So it is going to reduce the recharge of all of your shouts, which is good because you've got 3 or 4 if you take Shrug It Off. And it's also going to heal nearby allies and give you adrenaline every time you use a shout. So excellent trait to take. I would consider this one required because the other ones don't really make any sense for this. So lastly, we are going to test this baby out, okay? And I'm not great at using shouts, all right? But I'm going to try, all right? We're going to try. Let's kill these prairie dogs just because we can. And we're going to use a Warhorn skill. We gain swiftness. I'm going to go and lure a bunch of targets here. Let's go ahead. I blocked an attack, summon the banner, right? Remove that extra thing, the condition. Skull Crack because we used to the limit. Okay, we reduce the recharge of everything. Removing our conditions, 4 Great Justice. Skull Crack again. Shake It Off to break the stun. And also remove the conditions. Boom, Skull Crack again. And let's just go ahead and grant ourselves vigor and everything. And it's gone. They're gone. Do you see this? And we've got so much regeneration on us right now. We actually didn't really need to use to the limit anymore, because even once it recharged, we didn't actually need to use it as a healing skill. And let's just go ahead and get some more powerful enemies to attack really quick. But you know that, and it doesn't do like a ton of damage. Like I said, it's not going to be cranking out the high DPS numbers. You can see over here it barely does any damage. But the idea is that it's a support. It's a support class, or it's a support build, you know. And let's go ahead and use Skull Crack right there. Let's use 4 Great Justice. Okay, and this would be a lot easier to effectively use the Shake It Off if you were in a party, right? If you're in a party in a fractal group or whatever, then you're going to be able to see their health bars, and you're going to be able to see their conditions that they've got on them. So if you want to remove the conditions, then you know you can actually see when the right time to use that is. But as it stands, we're doing quite well. You know, this is doing plenty of support, right? And you do also get the that Empower Allies bonus when you were in combat. So very cool. And as you can see, the bounty is increasing the concentration, so we're getting more and more boon duration as we go along. Very, very useful, because look, we got like an extra full second on that might, which really helps. If we actually get above 40 seconds, and there is a little tiny bit of time where we have 18 stacks of might just from 4 Great Justice, okay? So very, very cool there. And see, as you can see, you know, when we use the shouts, gain all that adrenaline, right? So it's going to be very, very useful. And just keep in mind to also use the battle standard when it recharges and when you need to, because it's something that's going to help you out a lot. It's going to be able to, like I said, revive, right? You need to be able to revive the allies, and you need to also be able to gain some regeneration, which is what it's going to provide you with. I'm not effectively using my adrenaline because I'm not used to playing core warrior builds, and I'm not used to like spending all of my adrenaline in one go. So I'm used to just spending 1 bar at a time, so I'm not effectively using this build. But guys, I hope you enjoyed that build. This is a build that I spent a lot of time trying to get the gear on, and I also had a really, really fun time actually making the build. And I'm actually going to try and play this in WvW Worlds sometimes, probably. But only when I'm in a group, okay? Because if I'm not in a group, then it probably will not be as effective, because it's a leadership build, right? You're supposed to be like a commander, okay? But I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like and subscribe, Patreon and chill, if you know what I mean. And check out my other warrior builds. They are in a playlist, right? There's a playlist. If you go to my channel, there's a cool playlist to check out. And that's going to be the end for this episode, or this build. When the balance patch comes out, which is February 3rd, sorry, is it February? No, February 6th. Okay, when the balance patch comes out, I am going to make a video talking about what this means for warrior and what this potentially means with other classes, with the guildies, if that is possible, if enough of them are available. But once again, I want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.